Let me break down exactly what's happening right now between Trump, Putin, and Ukraine, and why this matters to everyone watching. Right now in December 2025, peace talks are underway in Berlin. Trump's team, including his envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner, just met with Ukrainian President Zelensky. And here's what came out. US officials claim 90% of issues are resolved. That sounds great, but let's look at what that actually means, because the devil is in that remaining 10%. Three major sticking points remain. Number one is territory. Russia controls about 20% of Ukraine, including Crimea and parts of Donbas. Putin wants to keep it. Ukraine wants it back. Someone has to compromise. Number two is security guarantees. Ukraine is willing to give up NATO membership, but only if Western countries promise to defend them if Russia attacks again. The big question: will these promises actually mean anything? Number three is sanctions. Russia wants the economic sanctions removed. Europe and the US Congress aren't eager to give Putin that win. These three issues sound simple, but they're incredibly complex. And understanding them helps you see why this is so difficult. Now let's compare approaches, because what we're seeing is a complete 180-degree turn from the previous administration. Under Biden for 3 years, the strategy was clear: $175 billion in US aid to Ukraine, and as long as it takes policy, building international coalitions, and maximum pressure on Russia through sanctions. The goal was to support Ukraine until they could win. Under Trump starting January 2025, it's completely different: end the war quickly, direct talks with Putin, pressure on Ukraine to negotiate, questioning unlimited aid, and skepticism toward NATO commitments. The goal is to get a deal done fast, even if it means compromises. Why the change? Trump's view is simple: this war is costing too much American money, it's not ending, and personal diplomacy with Putin can succeed where Biden's approach failed. Critics say this rewards Russian aggression and abandons Ukraine. Putin just gave his annual press conference and his message was clear. He said Russian forces are advancing on all fronts, though Ukraine disputes this claim. He stated Russia will achieve its goals either through talks or through war, meaning he's in no rush. Putin told NBC News the ball is in their court, projecting that time is on his side. What does Putin actually want? Keep the territory Russia has captured, prevent Ukraine from joining NATO, lift economic sanctions, and restore Russia's sphere of influence in Eastern Europe. The question everyone's asking: will Trump give him these things to get a deal? And this brings us to perhaps the most important factor in all of this. The Trump-Putin relationship is critical to understand. Trump has consistently praised Putin as smart and savvy. During his first term, the 2018 Helsinki summit was controversial because Trump seemed to side with Putin over US intelligence agencies. Trump was also impeached in 2019 for withholding Ukraine aid while pressuring Zelensky politically. But here's the contradiction. While Trump's words were friendly to Putin, his administration did provide lethal weapons to Ukraine and imposed some sanctions. So there's always been a gap between Trump's rhetoric and his actual policies. Now the question everyone's asking: does Trump's personal rapport with Putin help or hurt? Supporters say only Trump can get Putin to negotiate seriously. Critics worry Trump wants a quick win so badly that he'll accept a bad deal. Let's be specific about what's at stake for Ukraine, because this isn't abstract. On territory, the Donbas region has heavy industry and resources, and Crimea controls access to the Black Sea. Losing these permanently would be a major blow. On security, without NATO membership, what stops Russia from attacking again in 5 to 10 years? Paper guarantees might not mean much when actual fighting starts. Regarding people, millions of Ukrainians live in occupied territories, so what happens to them under Russian rule? And on sovereignty, if Ukraine is forced to accept a deal it doesn't want because Western support is ending, how independent is it really? President Zelensky is in an impossible position. His people are exhausted after 3 years of war, but they also don't want to surrender territory their soldiers died defending. European leaders are genuinely worried right now, and you can see it in their actions. Poland, the Baltic states, and others fear Trump will cut a deal that sacrifices Ukrainian security to improve US-Russia relations. They're asking, if America abandons Ukraine, are we next? This is why the EU just agreed to loan Ukraine €90 billion through 2027. It's partly about supporting Ukraine, but it's also insurance against America walking away. Europe is preparing for a world where they can't fully rely on US protection. Germany, France, and the UK are trying to stay involved in negotiations, but they're worried about being sidelined while Trump and Putin make decisions. This isn't just about Ukraine, and this is where it gets really important for global security. China is watching very carefully. If the world accepts Russia keeping Ukrainian territory after an invasion, what message does that send about Taiwan? Chinese leaders might calculate they could invade Taiwan and eventually force the world to accept it. Other countries with territorial disputes are also taking notes. The South China Sea, Kashmir, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. The basic rule since World War II has been that you can't change borders by force. If that rule breaks in Ukraine, where else does it break? American allies like South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan are asking, can we trust US security commitments? If America can reverse course so dramatically on Ukraine, what about us? Let me give you the strongest case supporters make for Trump's approach because there are legitimate arguments here. First, ending the bloodshed should be priority number one. Every month this continues. Thousands more die and Ukraine's infrastructure is being destroyed. When does supporting Ukraine become prolonging their suffering? Second, Biden's approach wasn't working. 3 years, $175 billion, and Russia still controls 20% of Ukraine. That's not sustainable. At some point, you need a different strategy. Third, only Trump has the leverage with Putin to get a deal. Biden tried isolation and pressure and it didn't end the war. Maybe direct engagement works where sanctions failed. Fourth, European countries spend too little on their own defense. They've been relying on America for decades. Maybe it's time they step up instead of criticizing American decisions. Now the other side, which is equally strong. First, rewarding aggression invites more aggression. If invading your neighbor works, other countries will try it. You're basically teaching dictators that patience pays off. Second, American credibility is on the line. Biden promised support as long as it takes, and now Trump is reversing course. Why would any ally trust American promises after this? Third, security guarantees without NATO probably won't work. Ukraine got security promises in 1994 when it gave up nuclear weapons, and Russia violated those when it invaded. What makes new promises different? Fourth, rushing to a deal because Trump wants a foreign policy win means accepting Putin's terms. The 90% resolved claim might just mean Ukraine is being pressured to accept things it doesn't want. So what happens next? There are key things to watch. The military situation matters because Russia is making slow gains in Donbas. If they capture more territory before a deal, Putin has more leverage. If Ukraine can hold or push back, Zelensky has more options. Domestic politics will play a role in all three countries. In Russia, nationalist hardliners might oppose Putin giving up anything. In Ukraine, any deal surrendering territory will be massively controversial. In America, both parties have members who strongly support Ukraine. European unity is crucial because if Europe presents a united front with specific demands, they can't be ignored. If they fracture, Trump has more freedom to make whatever deal he wants. Unexpected events could change everything overnight. A major battlefield change, political crisis, or unforeseen incident could completely change the negotiating landscape, and the timeline itself is important. Trump wants this done quickly, possibly within months, but wars rarely end on convenient schedules. The rushed timeline itself might be a problem. Here's what you need to understand as the bottom line. This isn't just about ending one war. It's about what kind of world we're going to live in. A world where borders can be changed by force if you're powerful enough, or a world where international rules actually matter. It's about whether personal diplomacy between leaders can solve conflicts that military pressure couldn't. It's about America's role as either a global enforcer or a transactional power broker. Trump believes he can get a deal that saves lives and ends the war. Critics believe he'll get a deal that rewards Putin and endangers future peace. The next few months will show which is correct. One thing is certain. Whatever happens in these negotiations will echo for decades. It will influence how China thinks about Taiwan, how NATO functions, and how future conflicts are resolved or started. The stakes couldn't be higher. That's the situation as of right now, December 2025. This is moving fast, and I'll keep you updated as major developments happen. Subscribe for updates as this story develops, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Trump can actually get a good deal with Putin, or is this going to be a disaster for Ukraine and global security?